And it's interesting to note that what we love about letterpress style printing now, with the having it pressed into the paper, is actually technically wrong. Yeah, we had a gentleman that owns a shop here in town that does letterpressing, and he's been doing it since well before we were born. And he talks about how when he first learned to operate the press, that the guy who taught him would reject pieces that had too much of the texture to the paper, because that's really not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to just kiss the paper and not leave this deep imprint.
Yeah.
But of course, we've turned a mistake into an art form.
Yes.
So it's really cool, and it's I think it's because it's so different from what we're familiar to holding in digital that this has such this kind of mystique and appeal to it. So laser cutting is really good for projects that have very unique shapes.
Yes.
And it's definitely more cost effective than die cutting, especially for the size that most invitation projects are.
Yeah, and actually we don't really use dies all that much, but with a die they'll have, it's kind of like the letter pressing and the foiling, where there's a metal shape made of the shape of the thing you need to cut. It's usually used for like the shape of the whole piece and not like really intricate. You just can't really get intricate with a die. But something I've noticed with dies is that it kind of like curves over the edge of the paper a little bit. So that's where laser cutting is just better to use.
Yeah. Cool. Now, you're not locked into just using one of these techniques, right? Like you can combine these, can't you?
Yeah, and that's where it gets awesome. So here's this example here of our book invitation. And we're just going to talk about the cover here, which uses 3 of our processes we've talked about.
Well, 3.
Yes. 3
in one piece.
In one piece of
just
paper.
Just the cover.
Just one piece of paper.
Okay.
So we've got digital printing for the red leather look here. It's not actual leather. It's just printed to look like, it's a photo of leather. And then we've got, obviously, the gold foiling here of the border and the text. And then the whole piece is laser cut. See these little tabs? So that it can fold around the book board there to make the cover of the book.
Cool.
So there's those 3 different elements making that.
So 3 techniques just in one piece of paper. Just the cover.
Yep.
I'm taking this away. It's cool.
Okay.
Show the other one.
All right. So this example is a leaf wrapper that wraps beautifully around our digital printed invitation in the middle. But the leaf is digitally printed on this wonderful veined paper, which is part of those wide variety of papers. This one does really well with the digital ink. And then for the really natural kind of shape of the leaf, the laser cutting just works perfectly.
Yeah.
And so it's, very naturally shaped there.
And it's worth noting you could actually do these interior cards letterpress, and you could even do them foiled. There's a lot of things you could do with those. But okay, so again, two different techniques in one piece.
You could even foil the veins of the leaf. Whoa, that would be cool.
Whoa.
That would be crazy. Interesting.
You heard it here, folks. If you're interested in that, come talk to us, because that would look awesome.
Cool idea.
All right, so let's talk about, last thing, let's talk about pricing, because each one of these kind of has its own range to it.
Yeah.
So let's start back with digital.
Digital is definitely the most economical printing process. The things that really drive the price on digital is the size of your piece and sometimes the paper choice, just because there's so many. There's like hundreds, maybe thousands of paper options. There's just tons and tons of them, different colors and different textures and weights and all that. So some of them they're just like finer papers, and some of them run more expensive.
Yeah, with letterpress, there's a setup fee involved. Letterpress is definitely going to be, of the 4, going to be the most expensive option almost in every case. But letterpress, there's a setup fee because of the initial plate you have to make, and really the driver on cost in that is the size of the plates and the number of plates required. And then anything you do that adds labor to the process, so multiple colors or having to do that halftone screen or something like that, those are going to really drive up the cost on the letterpress job. Foil stamping, very similar idea. You also are going to have a setup fee to make the initial plate. If there's more colors, that means more plates. And then anything else like that that adds labor to the process is going to raise the price on the foil stamping.
And then with laser cutting, it kind of depends. So laser cutting can be fairly inexpensive, or it can be really expensive. It depends on the amount of time that each individual piece requires to have it cut with the laser. So if you have like a little like luggage tag shaped thing and with like a little hole for a string or something like that, that's pretty simple. And that probably wouldn't take any time at all. So that'd be pretty inexpensive. But if you had something crazy like a Mayan calendar and you were cutting like 100 of them.
Wait, cutting Mayan calendars with lasers, are you trying to end the world?
Yes. Anyway, that would be really, really expensive. And like if you're doing 100 of them, that would be super expensive. Like we've had some projects that are intricate enough that they're like 5, 6, or 7 minutes
Oh, wow.
each to cut
Per piece.
per piece. So that takes a long time. So that would be more expensive.
So the amount of time is what drives the
yeah,
cost.
and a
of that.
little bit like how much paper it's using, but it's mostly the time.
Most of the time. Okay. So digital, letterpress, foil stamping, and of course, laser cutting.
Lasers.
Lasers. All four of these have their strengths. All four of these have their weaknesses. And what's cool is how you can combine them to make something that's truly unique. Hey, thanks for watching. Click that subscribe button to get our videos in your feed every 2 weeks. Leave us a question or a comment below. We love helping people create their perfect invitations, whatever techniques they like to use. You can find us on social media at PaperTruly on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. And you can find our shop at papertruly.com.